So, after what feels like 10 years, we return to action. Our first post-apocalypse outing featuring Wolverhampton Wanderers at home. Kick-off is at 5:30pm, and the thing will be on Sky. Engineering works are, for obvious reasons, completely irrelevant, though Network Rail have agreed to come and dump a pile of laundry at the bottom of the stairs to make your journey to the TV slightly more difficult, in case you are missing all the hassle. Well, this is a slightly surreal situation, isn't it? At this stage in proceedings, it is traditional for me to inform you of their current place in the league and to make reference to their current form. Of course, current form lacks a certain relevance at the moment, the break being about as long as the average pre-season. For the record, they're currently in 6th place, which would be good enough to qualify for the group stages of the Thursday Night League, assuming that A, we ever finish this season, and B, we ever start the next one. Actually, they're halfway through a Thursday night league tie against Olympiacos, the first leg in Piraeus finishing 1-1. Interestingly, and I probably used that word quite wrongly, 3 of their last 5 games finished in 0-0 draws, those being away at Manchester United and at home to both Leicester and Brighton. In between the Leicester and Brighton draws came a couple of wins. These were 3-0 at home to bottom club Norwich and 3-2 away at club full of bottoms Spurs, which left them with 43 points from 29 matches. Though, actually, in the time since I've actually wrote this, Sheffield United have picked up a point at Aston Villa's, meaning what I've just said is a load of rubbish, and I can't be bothered to look it up again. Daisy, the personal assistant with the beautiful smile, informs me that before everything went pear-shaped, their top scorer was Raul Jimenez, the Mexican international whose previous loan spell at Molineux was made permanent at the end of last season, has 13 goals this season. His importance to the side can be gauged by the fact that the next highest scorer, Diego Jota, has 6. They did a bit of business during the last window. They took another step towards their clear aim of signing every Portuguese player on the planet by bringing in winger Daniel Podence, or is that Podence? Who knows? He arrived for a fee of just shy of 17 million euros. I would tell you what that is in sterling, but Daisy tells me that when she went down to the travel agent to ask them what it was, the travel agent was for some reason shut. The second new arrival didn't hang around for too long. Promising right-back Luke Matheson arrived from the distinctly un-Portuguese climes of Rochdale. Clearly regarded as a prospect rather than as an immediate first-teamer, Matheson was immediately loaned back to the Scotland outfit for the rest of the season, though given the fact that whatever Division 3 is now called seems to have called it a day for the season, I suppose he's probably returned back to the Midlands. Either way, I wouldn't bank on him taking any part on Saturday. Although the goal-scoring plaudits rest firmly in the hands of Jimenez, arguably a bigger threat from an assist point of view is presented in the form of Adama Traore, a player who, as a result of a geographical miscalculation on the part of Wolves, was actually born in Spain rather than Portugal. Traore is, of course, of Malian heritage, and his international future has been the subject of some debate. Mali would obviously be quite keen to give him a game. However, he does have a few Spanish under-21 caps to his name, and his future seemed to have been sealed when Spain included him in the squad for a couple of what was optimistically called Euro 2020 qualifiers last November. As it transpired, injury saw him pull out of the squad, and he has gone on record as saying that he hasn't quite made up his mind as to which country to play for yet. Still, there's probably 4 years to go before Euro 2020 kicks off, so he's got a bit of time to play with. Perhaps unsurprisingly, under the circumstances, they are listed as having no injury concerns, though this doesn't take into account any secret closed-door friendly matches that might have taken place over the last few days. This is the point at which I usually take a look at the wild and wacky world of association football. Except however wild and wacky it has been in the past, what we have now is somewhat off the scale in terms of, well, wildness and wackiness. Matches behind closed doors are always a bit surreal, as anyone who watched any of the recent Bundesliga relaunch may have noticed. I'd be willing to bet that after an initial spike, viewing figures for those matches dropped like a stone. It'll be different for us, of course, watching a match for which there'll be some sort of emotional engagement, but it will still be hard work. Of course, the total lack of football hasn't prevented footballers from making a bid for entry into the Daft Club. I realise that yes, they're an easy target on which to blame all of society's ills, but by golly, some of them do themselves no favours. Malada give you Exhibit A in the form of Kyle Walker. While some of us have had to spend the last 3 months effectively in solitary without so much as the companionship of one's personal assistant with a beautiful smile to help one through the wee small hours, Mr. Walker elected to hold a party and to hire some guests of the female persuasion. This was shortly before he urged supporters to stay at home in an interview that took place the next day. Then there was Furlough Gate, Spurs and Liverpool both decided to avail themselves of the government funds available to cover wages and salaries. This didn't go down too well up and down the country, and both clubs eventually dropped their claims. The Liverpool Echo, never one to miss an opportunity to put a positive spin on the worst of stories from that part of the world, triumphantly declared that Spurs had been forced into the U-turn by Liverpool's magnificent decision. Meanwhile, a club in South Korea tried to limit the effects of playing behind closed doors by placing dummies in the stands. Closer inspection showed that many members of the crowd were in fact inflatable dolls, purchased at the local equivalent of Ann Summers. Maybe that's something we could consider at the Olympic. If only there was someone within the club who knew where to source such items. One thing the club will be doing will be placing a mosaic collage of supporter photos in the stands. Let's hope that whoever's got to pore all over the photos for selection purposes is at the top of their game. When somebody tried something similar in Australia, many were surprised to discover that their club's celebrity and supporters included the likes of Adolf Hitler and Harold Shipman, whose photos had been supplied by some of the more mischievous elements of the convict descendants. And so on to us. The owners laudably elected to keep playing staff without recourse to taxpayer funds, and, fair play, Mr. Sullivan also chipped in to cover the shortfall in matchday donations to the food bank. See, we do give credit where it's due. I guess in the grand scheme of things, the trials and tribulations of a football club don't really amount to the proverbial hill of beans. However, with due acknowledgement to and filtering out the outside world for the time being, possibly the most disappointing news to emerge from Rush Green in recent weeks has been that of the impending departure of Jeremy Ngakia. In the, 4 games he's played for us thus far, he's shown promise to suggest that a decent future awaits. The stories as to why he's leaving seem to be coloured by which direction they come from. On the one hand, it's argued that the club have made an offer commensurate with the status of a young professional 4 games into his career. On the other hand, it's been suggested that the players' representatives have simply indicated he's off at the end of the month, irrespective of any offer. The position with this damn virus doesn't help things. Player contracts expire on the 30th of June, and with games continuing well into July, we have a situation whereby free agents could quite legitimately start playing for another club on the 1st of July, irrespective of whatever happens to the transfer window. Free agents can sign whenever they like. Personally, I think there's far too much pressure on young players to move on before their time. Rarely does it serve a player well to interrupt their development so early. I may be wrong, but this has all the hallmarks of something already having been agreed for the 1st of July. If another club has been tapping him up, wouldn't it be good if the FA for once stepped in? Don't hold your breath. Last time out, and remember some of us have had birthdays since then, we went 1-0 down at the Library. It was the second season running that the defeat did not reflect the true pattern of play, and a point was the very least we deserved, the winner coming by way of a very fortunate deflection and half an hour sat in front of VAR. Looking at the selection for this one, we had pretty much a full squad to select from, a knee injury to Ogbonna being the sole area of concern at the time of writing. I did believe that Jack Wilshere was to have been an absentee. However, when I looked closer at the screen, it turned out to be a simple case of screen burn from all the other times I've visited physioroom.com. And so we move on to the concept of a prediction. Well, God knows really. We haven't even got the usually totally misleading precedent of much in the way of pre-season friendlies to be fooled by. Current form doesn't exist, and we'll have no idea how the enforced break has affected each team until we've got a few games in. So I'll go all optimistic and hope that the break will have done us good. If Winston the turf accountant is open, please put me down to wager the £2.50 I was going to spend on a face mark and put it on a 2-1 win to us. I'll pop in just as soon as the rest home allows me out of the front door. Enjoy the game, and remember you can see a written version of this, for those of you who've got that much of an attention span, on kumb.com. It will also include the infamous Percy's Poser. Take care all.